Mic check 1 2 1 2. It's the Y2K collector, and one of the things that people love the most about the Nintendo Switch is the fact that you can play it in handheld mode. I find that a lot of people wind up using the Nintendo Switch in a handheld mode more than really when it's docked. And what you're looking at right here is a Switch Lite, which obviously doesn't have the docking mode option to where you can dock it and play your games on an actual TV screen. But you obviously do have the standard Switch that does. And what I've noticed over this past 2 days really is how much of a difference playing in handheld mode is versus docking certain games. Now, I noticed that this difference was occurring in some of the beat 'em ups that I've been recently playing. There were some beat 'em ups that, like for instance, Fight and Rage, Karate Kid, Kung Fu something, and The Last Faith, actually, which isn't really a beat 'em up. It's more of like a side-scrolling hack and slash game. But those were some games that I actually initially played in handheld mode using the Switch Lite. And I wanted to kind of give some of these games a second chance. And so yesterday, I actually played all of them on my docked Switch that I have connected to the TV. And I didn't use the standard Switch remote controls because for me, those just are not the best, especially for beat 'em ups. I have the 8-bit Do, which is essentially a Super Nintendo controller with analog sticks at the bottom. And that's the controller that I typically use to play almost all of my Switch games, unless they require some type of motion activity, like a Mario Party Jamboree or something like that. And what I noticed when I played some of those games on the docked Switch station was it was a very different experience, for sure. For one, just from a controls standpoint, you get a much more tactile feel from using an SNES style controller well, for me that is, as opposed to using like just your standard Switch controls, especially for beat 'em ups. So I had to take a look at some of the games that I was playing, and both visually, because there's also the visual aspect, right? There's a big difference from between looking at a game on a smaller Switch screen versus looking at a game on a larger screen, where you're able to take in more of what's actually being displayed, of what's actually in the game. And it did make a difference with some games. I gotta be honest that playing certain Switch games in a docked mode does make a difference in the gameplay experience. And I also think the controllers make a big difference in terms of some of the games that you're playing. And I started to think like, man, I wonder how many Switch games that I've only played in handheld mode. I wonder how much better some of these games would be if I did actually play them from a docked Nintendo Switch. And I have some games here that I think automatically do need to play from a docked Nintendo Switch. I don't think these games can be played on a handheld. Like, you can play them on a handheld, but I don't think you're going to get the best experience. I think when it comes to open world hack and slash games like Hyrule Warriors, Age of Calamity, or even a game like Breath of the Wild, especially a game like Breath of the Wild, I think these are games that you do need to play from a docked station. Just because you want to see, like, there's no loss in terms of graphical fidelity between playing a game like Breath of the Wild or Hyrule Warriors from your handheld Switch versus playing it on your TV. It's not like it looks worse when you play it on a TV screen. And there are some games that do look better on a handheld monitor, just because um, things almost appear to be more detailed and less muddied. I would say that that's probably the case for a lot more of your, well, not a lot more, but some of your like 2D sprite-based games. Some of them can look a little bit more muddied when they're on a larger screen because the pixels obviously are a lot more chunky. They're a lot bigger, so you actually can see the each pixel depending on how the pixel art was done. Because some 2D sprite-based games, they really make the pixels chunky, some don't. I think some do the pixel art to actually scale with a smaller screen to a larger screen. So it just depends. But I think for like I said, the open world hack and slashers, like a Hyrule Warriors, a game like Attack on Titan or Astral Chain, these types of games do need to be played, I think, from a docked Nintendo Switch. I think anything motion sensor, of course, you need to play it from a dock Nintendo Switch. A game like Fitness Boxing, Fist of the North Star, you want to see that on a larger screen. You want to get the effect of actually like fighting someone, and you're gonna just get a better effect when you're playing it on a larger TV screen. And while a game like the Capcom Fighting Collection can be played from your handheld Switch, you're gonna definitely get more of that arcade feel when you play it from your TV screen. It's gonna give you more of that old school feel. And I think some Switch games are better when you play them on an actual TV screen. It doesn't mean you're not going to get a good experience playing them handheld, but I do think that docking certain games is better. Now, what games do I think do work well on a handheld Switch? I think for sure shoot 'em ups. I think shoot 'em ups do work well on a handheld Switch, just because shoot 'em ups are less dynamic in terms of the variety of things that you're going to be doing, right? For the most part, when you're playing a shoot 'em up, you're dodging, you're shooting, and you're using a special bomb attack. You're not, yes, it does get complex in terms of you having to dodge a lot of bullets when it comes to like the bullet hell shooters and things like that. But I think that there's really not a huge or as much of a difference playing a Switch handheld versus playing it from a TV screen. I'm actually going to test that theory a little bit more today, as I go back to some of my shoot 'em ups, some of my more favorite shoot 'em ups on the Switch, which I've, played mostly for handheld. I'm going to go ahead and give some of these a run on the TV from the docking station and see how well they play. But I also think that certain side scrollers, like certain platformers, I think there are some platformers that you can get away with from the handheld and still have a good experience, because when you play them, they wind up feeling like a Game Boy Advance game, or they wind up feeling like a DS side-scrolling game. And I think those types of games you can get away with when playing them on a handheld Switch, or playing the Switch in handheld mode. So I thought that this was very interesting. I never really noticed how much of a difference these things made when playing some of these games, but after kind of testing it with some of the beat 'em ups that I've been playing over the weekend, I definitely noticed a difference. And I think that because I'm playing some of these games with my daughter, and it's forced me to actually play some of these games in a dock station mode. It's kind of forced me to kind of see certain things. So it's cool, man. It's cool. I think the Switch is a great console, and the fact that you have both options is awesome. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Do you think there's a difference in gameplay feel when playing certain games in a handheld mode versus when it's docked in its docking station? I'm interested to know your thoughts on this. It's Super Bowl Sunday, so hopefully you're getting your food prepared and your snacks and all of your eats ready to go. And hopefully you enjoy the day. That does it for me. It's the Y2K Collector. Take it easy.